In your high school yearbook, you were named most likely to be a cast member on Saturday Night Live. Is that
Yes,
true?
that's true, but that was like the florid, embellished language around it should have been like it would be like, you know, for like most beautiful person it would be most likely to end up on Vogue, and for the class clown it was like they kind of like rebranded it to most likely to end up on SNL. So it was more of a class clown honor than anything else.
Advertising companies are mining online data in order to predict consumer trends. Here to comment are two trend forecasters.
Hello, Martin.
This is incredible.
Wow, okay, so you're here to share your data on today's most popular trends.
Yes, we are tracking the trends with a big, old, mean computer.
The numbers are in, and the trends have been cast. Here is
The report.
Our first category is
Workout trends.
in not wiping down the equipment.
In hurting your back.
In full bush in the locker room.
And out.
Jogging to Kelly Clarkson.
Jogging to Kelly Clarkson, you're out!
So go to hell.
She has a talk show now!
So she doesn't have time to motivate your juicy ass. You had your chance, you blew it. Go to bed, bitch.
Damn. You guys are so mad.
Keep it down, Mike!
Welcome to the actor's side today. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's see here. First Chinese American cast member on SNL. Third openly gay cast member. Fourth of Asian descent. First featured player when you were featured to get an Emmy nomination on the show.
This is all on my resume.
And Time 100 most influential person. You are also on that list.
Yes, that was a nice surprise in the fall. I was just like, oh, I guess I didn't realize like when these things were rolling out. That was a really big honor.
This is pretty amazing, all of this in such a short time. I mean, I remember when you came on the show, I know you were a writer before, but when you came on the show on there, I've never seen such a quick ascent. I mean, you connected immediately.
Thanks. Yeah, but then there was some like, of course there's this anxiety that kind of goes through your head about, well, oh gosh, it's like it's gonna fizzle out so quickly. But it's just nice to be at a place where you get to sort of, you know, recalibrate your stuff every week and get to sort of start from zero, whether you had a good week or a bad week before.
Did you always have aspirations once you knew you had the talent for acting, comedy, all of that, that you would aim it at being on a show like this?
No, I never really occurred to me that I would ever be on the show. I think the aspiration was always that I would hopefully in a perfect world like write or just be behind the scenes somehow, and that would have been perfect. That would have been great. But this is all a pleasant surprise. Yeah.
You got to write. I mean, that's how you got on the show. How did that come about? How do you become a writer on Saturday Night Live?
There are multiple sort of avenues. One, there's a decently open call for submissions for packets. I'd done that a couple years and didn't really lead to anything. Then at one point, my management at the time was like, well, SNL's looking for new cast, you could put together a 5-minute tape of characters. And I was like, they'll never hire, you know, like an effeminate Asian man on that show to be on camera, so I'll just do it on a lark. And so I did it. I did a 5-minute tape, and then somehow I kept clearing each stage gate. I made it to the showcase, then I made it to the screen test, and then at that point I was like, this is great. I didn't think I would come this far. And so then at that point, Lauren interviewed me. I think his plan was to let me see how the sausage was made first as a writer, and just have like a boots on the ground view of like how the show gets made. And I think he told me when he wanted to hire me to be on cast, to move me to cast, he said the plan was to make sure you were, you know, well equipped to do the job, because you're going to have a lot of eyes on you for being who you are.
Right.
And so the worst thing I could do for you is to like throw you out there without a paddle. So I think this is all sort of in his long-term vision, was to make sure I was okay before I went out there.
Yeah, but you're getting into movies on a much more regular basis now. I see you pop up all over the place. Lost City,
Yes,
you
that
were
was
in,
fun, yeah.
which has been a huge hit actually. And upcoming trailers are out on Fire Island.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell me about Fire Island because that looks great actually. From
Yeah,
the trailer.
I think it will be. It was really nice to shoot, and it was kind of the first time I had done something, you know, less immediately gratifying, because I think working at SNL, you're used to reading off a cue card and like pitching to the rafters and like, you know, being like knowing pretty immediately whether or not the audience likes what you do or not. And with doing Fire Island, it was a bit of a more dramatic part, and I had to sit in it for a few months before I could see a cut of the movie. But it's a vacation comedy that's modeled after Pride and Prejudice, so it has the same plot points as Pride and Prejudice, but it all takes place on this gay vacation destination of Fire Island off of the coast of Long Island, and it was really nice. It was really great. One of my good friends, Joel Kim Booster, wrote it, stars in it, executive produced it, and it should be good. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And I recently was at CinemaCon.
Yes.
And they had a very big presentation from Universal, and one of the very biggest things they focused on was Bros, which is the first, I believe, and that's the way they build it, LGBTQ cast.
Yes.
Across the board here. Billy Eichner, obviously.
Yep.
Here.
For him to take that opportunity for himself to kind of open that up to so many other people, it's pretty amazing, and it was just so fun to. I was only in the movie for. I'm only in the movie for I think like 1 or 2 scenes, and I only worked 1 day between SNL weeks.
Yeah.
But it was so fun, and he was just the perfect sort of figurehead for that kind of set. Him and Nick Stoller, who directed the film.
Nick Stoller and Judd Apatow produced it.
Yes.
You're in his new book.
Yeah, and it's sorted alphabetically by first name, so I'm the second chapter, and I feel like that's good placement for me. Hopefully that means people will read it if they're reading it in linear order, but I don't know. It's pretty. I loved the first one so much, and this follow-up is so good too.
Sick in the Head 2 or whatever.
Yeah,
it's called.
Sicker in the Head. Very creative. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm just curious too, when you're doing this and you're on that show and you do a sketch like the Titanic Iceberg and you're sitting there doing it and you're getting that reaction, did you know, that's it, I'm comfortable here, I've got it going on?
I feel like it's that thing I was saying earlier where you get reset to zero, whether or not you like touch the sky or you were like in the lowest depths of like despair week to week, like you get reset, and that's sort of I think Martin Short said that about his time working there. He was there very briefly, but he was even telling me this in person one time, that's the beauty and the sort of challenge of it. And so that was I guess I will always cherish that moment of playing the Iceberg. But I think coming back to the next show, I was like, well, I got to come up with something new, like I think it feels somewhat Sisyphean, except it's not, because you are rewarded in some aspect. There isn't, it's not futile. It's something kind of meaningful no matter what.
You came on the show right at a time when the Asian hate crimes were happening, and a lot of terrible things out in real life. This is a comedy show, I know, but
right.
Did you feel like I want to, use this platform in some way?
I mean, I think the platform is so beyond what most people have. I think I'm pretty uniquely positioned right now where I am, and like in a material way, like Lauren has changed my life, and my life has changed by working on the show. So it feels like I need to sort of, I don't know, like pay that forward in some way in thinking of that responsibility. But then at the same time, I think the best thing I can do is on an individual level is just to like work from a liberated place and hopefully not be too weighed down by that. Yeah. We did write this piece right after the shootings in Atlanta that happened last March in 2021. And, we made it as comedic of a piece as we could, but then ultimately I think I walked away from that experience thinking, just having this like vulnerability hangover and going, I guess that's like, that can be an exceptional thing. It can be like, once every couple years I can like go out as myself and try to address something that's really really unfortunate or that's really tragic. But otherwise, I think 2 weeks later I did the Iceberg. So I think I had this itch to like, you know, really just kind of just move past it and show people that like I can be something completely outside of Asianness or queerness. It can be something totally absurd or, you know, just like solidly comedic. And that was really, you know, fortuitous timing.
Your parents proud of you now on this show. Yeah, and your parents were immigrants to Australia, I guess.
Yes, China to Australia. I was born in Australia, then Canada to the U.S. Yeah.
To the U.S.
It's Commonwealth hopping, but yeah, that's.
So you're actually, I called you the Chinese American the first, but you're actually the first Chinese Australian
Canadian. There you go. The hyphens just keep coming. Yeah, no, it's wild, and so you of course get this, you know, you feel like they've gone through this very arduous journey to like give me this, you know, a materially better life, and you know, I'm the second of two. I'm the younger of two children, and so my mother would not have had me had she stayed in China with the one-child only policy at the time.
Oh wow, yeah.
So existentially, that kind of like, of course, that like kind of binds you to them in some way, where you kind of go, well, the piety in terms of like honoring what they've given you is so strong. But then I just saw Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean, I didn't just see it. I saw it twice a few weeks ago, but that movie just like really drove home this idea of like, well, there are these alternative timelines where you wouldn't have existed, and what would that have looked like? And then the moral of it is that, you know, you kind of are grateful or and are present in the moment that you're in. And so I think everyone in my family has understood that, I think, is that, you know, we're really happy with where we are.
I love that, and you just explained that movie perfectly to me.
Oh, good. Have you seen it?
I have.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
And you saw it twice?
I saw it twice.
Yeah, and Michelle Yeoh.
Oh my God.
Man.
And we got to interview her for this podcast I host. Stephanie Hsu, who plays the daughter, is one of my college friends.
Yeah.
She was in Tisch while I was, you know, a chemistry major, so like our paths crossed, but I was always kind of watching her being like, I want to do what she does. and then she came to an SNL after party and we hung out, and it was just a crazy like, wow, we ended up here like full circle together, and you're doing your thing, I'm doing mine. It's so lovely.
Don't discount your podcast now. You just mentioned it, sliding by. I was going to ask you before we go.
Yes.
That's been a smash hit.
That's been fun. Yeah, Las Culturistas. It's
What have you done,
great.
200 episodes? Or?
I just came for my 300th episode
300?
recording.
Oh my God.
I know, yeah, that was...
I mean, everyone seems like everyone has a podcast.
Sure.
But this one took off.
Yeah, I mean, we started this 6 years ago, so it kind of in podcast years, I think that's like pretty wizened or whatever. It's like it's been around for a while. You know, it's really great. It's a nice thing to sort of have ambiently going on in my life, while, you know, it's weirdly it's stable, while, you know, the other jobs that I do are sort of, you know, kind of patchy and scheduled in these interesting seasonal ways.
Do a movie, you got to wait for, well, with the pandemic, some of these movies have been waiting out for 3 years to come out. So
exactly,
you're always somewhere else. Well, your life would make a movie. Do you think of writing your own kind of story for the screen?
I do. And I wonder how much of it can be autobiographical and how much of it can be sort of dramatized, fictionalized in ways that kind of make it formally interesting, rather than it just being like, oh, it's that grounded Bowen Yang like movie. I feel like there's some element that wouldn't like drive the budget up too much that makes it seem structurally interesting or something.
Yeah, and you'll be the next SNL movie star.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
Who knows?
Well, that's what we're waiting for. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Pete.
you, Bowen.
Thanks so much
for joining us on the Actors Side.
Thanks for having me.